No libation tonight? Cindy Snyder can't believe it. No libation. Well, that makes one of us. Oh, Rochelle Hamill. Hello, Rochelle. Goodness gracious. Great balls of fire. All right. Okay. Enough with the... Wait a minute. I gotta grab it. Where's that folder? Oh, crap. Where did I put it? Where did I put the folder? You know, the folder. It's around here. So, oh, shoot. It's sitting right in front of me. It's Tuesday, Tuesday, Tuesday. The day that time forgot. Enough folderol and fiddle-dee-dee, people. I don't know how long I'm going to last tonight. But I figured, what the heck? You know, I feel for the most part better. Yeah. For those of you who don't know the story, it was the Friday before Father's Day, right? And I went down to Tacoma and brought my mom up to Seattle. My mom, who's 87. I brought her up to see her friend Olive, who's 90 plus. Is Olive 90 or 91? They've known each other since nurses training. And so I brought my mom up to Olive's house. She was going to spend a couple of nights with Olive. And then on Tuesday I was taken, and on Sunday, on Father's Day, Alice came over, spent a couple of hours, you know, had some food with us and stuff like that, and life was groovy and stuff like that. I had a couple of Zoom meetings going on I had a Zoom meeting that evening, so she couldn't stay super late. But anyway, she came over, hung out for a while and stuff like that, which was great. Had a good Father's Day. And then on Tuesday, I was taking my mom back to Tacoma, and while I was driving my mom down to Tacoma, we're both in the car together, you know, and get a call from Alice saying that she had COVID, you know, and so it's kind of like, oh, so there you go. I got home that evening. It was Tuesday, right? So I got home that afternoon, felt okay, tested myself, tested negative. Did the poetry break that evening, and I was coughing a little bit. By the end of the poetry break, I was coughing. I mean, I always cough, but it had a different kind of quality to it. And because I'm a Pisces, you know, I will always believe if there's a sickness to be had, then I've probably already got it, you know, like that. And anyway, so I coughed most of the night that night. By Wednesday morning, I was testing positive, and then, you know, and there's Diane kind of going, hi, you know. So Diane is about 2 days behind me in the whole process. And I'll tell you, it was, you know, it was just kind of like a bad flu for a couple of days. I had some fever and just dead to the world. Like, you know, Diane and I both, for the first 2 days, spent most of the time sleeping. And I've spent a good deal of time since then sleeping. The fatigue part was the part that seems to have the long tail on it. Long tail. I'm still feeling it. I'm testing negative now, and going back to work tomorrow and all that. So because I don't think I'm not contagious anymore. But boy, I'm still kind of. I mean, I passed out in front of the television earlier today. Diane and I had lunch together and we were watching something on TV, and I'm right there in my chair, and there's no, you know, drool, you know, how you get when you're old, you know. So anyway, there's a Don Ashford cup. Yeah, he called it a reject, but I really like it. I think of it as trees along a river. There's the river down here, and there's the trees, you know. He called it a reject, but it's been one of my favorite cups for a long time. I thought I'd drag this out. Little Methow connection there. Deputy Don. Yes, Radio Root. K-Root. K-R-T-T. Deputy Don and I worked together at Kevlar, Bulletproof Radio, many, many years ago, back at the turn of the century. Yeah, we can say that now, especially us old people. Yeah, back at the turn of the century, back before the turn of the century, we started doing some radio together. And was Lori Trout there? There's Holly Trout Cooper. Hello, Holly Trout Cooper. What about Lori Trout? Is Lori Trout in here? You know, that's right. I wonder if Lori Trout and Holly Trout are related somehow. I never even thought of that. That just never even occurred to me until just now. Bulletproof Radio. That's right, Rick. Kevlar. Jeff Steve's in the house. Hello, Jeff. Welcome, sir. Ah, that's great. It's great. So, the Lori Trout commemorative cup. It's the only shot glass I've got. But I brought the bottle up again tonight in case I need more. Hey, Ollie. Wow, sweet. Yep. Just right. Just one more. That's all. I'm not going to take it right away. I'm going to save it for later because I'll probably need it. The reason I didn't do a poetry break last week, well, the fatigue thing was still happening, but I was afraid that I was going to lose my voice because my voice felt a little. And Diane and I were both noticing that the longer we talked, the more we coughed. It was like that. The other thing that's happened during this 2-week period that we've been off is that Diane is now officially retired. So I think we can expect a lot more imaginative interactions with the hand, since the hand now is, freed up. I'm just kidding. I can hear her in the other room moaning as I mentioned that. Anyway, here we are back again. Let's not make a big deal out of it. Oldmanhood. I'll tell you this. During the 2 weeks that I've been sick, Oldmanhood has suffered. Not from a lack of quantity as much as from a lack of quality. You have to understand that it's been an emotional time anyway, right? But it's just been. I just felt wacky and fatigued, and sitting down at the typewriter to type. It was just like, let's see what we come up with, and it all felt very kind of maybe forced a little bit. See what you think. It's not great. I picked out, I think, 4 or 5 that I disliked the least. There's about 12 or 14 pages that I trimmed for tonight's broadcast. You'll thank me later once you hear what the good stuff is. COVID-19 snuck into Oldmanhood on Father's Day. No one saw it coming. We were eating and talking and making merry. Now I know what it's like from the inside. The brain crumbles first, then the lungs, though I still administer my favorite poisons just to increase the dramatic value and make the relatives squirm in their seats. Payne has been given a promotion, which he didn't deserve. Yes, Payne is a man, because I don't trust men. So it has taken control of the airport and the media with dictatorial powers and private contractors. So, like most of the last 2 years, we huddle in our corners, sleep separately, talk in obscure generalities I don't always understand, and take lots of pills with lots of water. The sleeping separately is new, and it spews. This is not the wedded bed. This is not my address. I thought we were wondrous and wrinkled and fine, and then we're not for a small bit of time. Unless I die, which I admit is unlikely this week. And then I stop. So this was like a couple, 3 days into it. So I had very low expectations that day. Now my expectations started to ramp up, but the quality of the work remained in the cellar, as you will see. Why haven't I written anything? I already watched television today. I already ate and went to the bathroom. I surfed the web like in the 90s, and still nothing. The rats have eaten my brain because of COVID. And it's not like I feel that bad. I've gotten a lot of sleep. I've taken some excellent medicines. The rats have entered because I left the door open. Always looking for an excuse. Do I really want to give up, relax into obesity, head for the end zone, burn my poems, deny my songs, buy a scooter chair and crutches, those nice ones made of aluminum with those arm holders, start doing live streams about how Jesus wants me to be president and please send money to our holier than those guys campaign? All to keep from writing a goddamn page. And blame it on COVID. Like that's how I know I've crossed the line into hopeless. Well, crap, I live in Oldmanhood. They're not going to have that here. They'll kick me out of the cribbage club. They'll repossess my typewriter. So glad I got this done. All I wanted to do was get to the bottom of the page. I think that's the essential message of that one. I could have written in large, all I want to do is get to the bottom of this page. and it probably would have had more poetic value long term. The leaf blower man is here. I wonder if his back hurts. I wonder what kind of earplugs he wears. I hope he is well paid, because it looks like a strange job. I think it would make me dizzy, chasing 5 leaves around a parking lot, out from under and around cars, all the way back to the compost bin he puts them in. When did we start keeping our parking lots so clean? Cleaner than the houses, cleaner than the water, cleaner than the thoughts that rattle in his head around all that noise and all that vibration. I would be in a circus of neon pathways out of the mind's reach, beyond the clouds. That's why I'll never be a leaf blower man. It would be more fun than I could stand, and I would fall. I would wobble like jelly, pirouette like pudding, and fall like cards, with a hump of noise like an unopened parachute strapped to my back. Yes. Let the fun continue. Jamie Turner's in the house. Hey, Jamie. Charlotte Hubbard. Is that Henry or is that Charlotte? This wasn't the poem we sent in. That wasn't a poem you sent in, Charlotte. You know, we'll talk about that. I need to be feeling better before I'm going to attempt something like that. It's kind of like Crunchy Granola Sweet by Neil Diamond, done as Walter Brennan, which is another thing I might pull out sometime. I walked this morning for the first time in over a week. It felt good and true and like it's supposed to. It was shorter than normal because I'm still getting over the plague, and I don't want any body parts falling off while I'm away from home. I'm not sure how the citizens of Oldmanhood would respond to that, but I can picture it going badly. I saw many of the trees I miss. Not all of them, but I saw the big-ass birch and the tall poplars, some fine maples and a weeping willow big enough to have swung on when I was a kid. Of course, I'm not a kid now, too big to go swinging from weeping willows no matter how much I want to. When I was in the first grade, the neighbor across the street had a weeping willow in his front yard. And we used to play with our Tonka trucks in the gravel on their parking strip, networks of roads and stuff. Then we'd swing on the weeping willow until his mom came out and offered us lemonade and cookies. It was like freaking Norman Rockwell. Life's not like that anymore. Things were magical because we were kids. In my childhood, safety was something I took for granted. I didn't know the word privilege. Now I do. The plague taught it to a lot of us. We want to be different now, and we're trying to find our way. It's hard medicine, but we're taking it. Why did it take a plague? You know, it's just not very poetic. It doesn't have a lot of dance to it. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping to get back into the dance part. Because, you know, if you're going to say something serious, you want it to have some dance. I'm sorry, but, you know, as a former songwriter, I like it to have some dance, you know? Bee on a maple leaf, tea in a cup. Slept till nearly 8 o'clock before I got up. The heat has eased today. Clouds again. Muddled head is mending, someone said. And when I do remember who I am, I'll write a little love note to the righteous, putting women away for the crime of choosing. My mother was a prisoner and knew it. Couldn't get a bank account without a man to confirm her existence. She, the breadwinner. She, the TV dinner. She, the one who stayed up late to make sure we staggered home safe. Last one. A sad day, looking over the writing of the last 2 weeks. So much anger at the failings of my society and of my body. Not the kind of uplift I had in mind when I started to write of Oldmanhood, its fine citizens, its gentle landscapes. Surely, now that I'm feeling better, I can get back to the observations and ecstasies of living and pierce the world to see its smallness among the big ideas that flood us and take up our time with distractions of governments and statues and all the threats that pull at us and cause us to miss the celebration of being alive today. There are such tiny flowers, motionless little stars of light all along the trail. The tweakers and the unhoused sit among them. I don't know what kind of fish that man with the 2 poles pulls from the lake. Does he really eat them? So many yards, cars, big old trees pepper the way with society. Then there are the crows, squirrels, raccoons, and bunnies. Birds of limitless color and swoop. Our screens are as big as the world outside the window. Walk into the wind and back again. There you go. That's the best I could do while doing the COVID thing. So if there's a thing that you do and you think, oh, I got COVID now I can stay home and just do whatever I want, well, check the quality. Because, yeah, give it a couple of weeks before you reread it, because you might look back on it and go, perhaps not. Perhaps not. Perhaps we should just wait and have some kind of a, my ears are starting to unclog. I'm hearing weird rumblings around the house, like there's something going on. I mean, it's the hand, ladies and gentlemen. The hand. Ooh, look. Oh, lovely. Those aren't real. Oh, but this is. The hand. The hand is wearing purple. There you go. The hand is wearing purple. More about that soon. So we got Bill, we got Cindy, we got Holly and Kim. Word came down the pike just before showtime tonight that Holly and Kim are doing the COVID dance now. Be patient. Be patient with it. What we're realizing is that the fatigue thing is just hanging on. Hanging on. Jeff Steve, yes. Let's see, who else? Charlotte, Henry, and Stefan in the house. Rochelle, Rick, Joyce Hyatt, Finn Livingston, Tim and Sherry Vernon. Whoa. Tim and Sherry Vernon. I wanted to show you this. This is the card that Cindy sent. Get well card. It says, hope you both get well soon. Plus Alice, plus Bill's mama too. Thank you, Cindy Snyder. That was sweet. That was sweet. Yeah. Okay. Let's get to some of this mailbag stuff. Now, the mailbag has been backing up. And I admit I probably should just do mailbag. We're going to have to do one of those mailbag purge shows, where it's just all mailbag stuff. And I'm really not, other than Oldmanhood, mailbag, I think I got one poem besides that tonight. So I shouldn't be yammering. I should be doing the actual work. There's Milt Foreman. Hey, Milt. How you doing, man? Good to see. There's Mary Pekka. Mary Pekka's in the house. So, yeah, the mailbag has been backing up a little bit, and I've been letting it happen, And, I don't know how to get to all of it, But we did have, I wanted to read something that Mary sent in. What else have we got here? Something that a friend of Theo's sent. Something. What else? What else have we got? Oh, yeah. Anyway, to start with, the first poem that we got during our COVID adventure was from Heidi Muller. Heidi Muller sent a Marge Piercy poem, which we really liked. Wanted to share that with you. It's called Right to Life by Marge Piercy. It's either Percy or Piercy, I'm not sure. But got to read some more Marge. Okay, Right to Life it's called. A woman is not a pear tree, thrusting her fruit in mindless fecundity into the world. Even pear trees bear heavily one year and rest and grow the next. An orchard gone wild drops few warm rotting fruit on the grass, but the trees stretch high and wiry, gifting the birds 40 feet up among inch-long thorns, broken atavistically from the smooth wood. A woman is not a basket you place your buns in to keep them warm, not a brood hen you can slip duck eggs under, not a purse holding the coins of your descendants till you spend them in wars, not a bank where your genes gather interest and interesting mutations in the tainted rain. You plant corn and you harvest it to eat or sell. You put the lamb in the pasture to fatten and haul it in to butcher for chops. You slice the mountain in two for a road and gouge the high plains for coal, and the waters run muddy for miles and years. Fish die, but you do not call them yours unless you wished to eat them. Now you legislate mineral rights in a woman. You lay claim to her pastures for grazing, fields for growing babies like iceberg lettuce. You value children so dearly that none ever go hungry, none weep with no one to tend them when mothers work, none lack fresh fruit, none chew lead or cough to death, and your foster homes are empty. Every noon, the best restaurants serve poor children steaks. At this moment, at 9 o'clock, a partera is performing a tabletop abortion on an unwed mother in Texas who can't get Medicaid any longer. In 5 days, she will die of tetanus, and her little daughter will cry and be taken away. Next door, a husband and wife are sticking pins in the son they did not want. They will explain for hours how wicked he is, how he wants discipline. We are all born of woman. In the rows of the womb we suckled our mother's blood, and every baby born has a right to love like a seedling to sun. Every baby born unloved, unwanted, is a bill that will come due in 20 years with interest, an anger that must find a target, a pain that will beget pain. A decade downstream, a child screams, a woman falls, a synagogue is torched, a firing squad is summoned, a button is pushed, and the world burns. I will choose what enters me, what becomes flesh of my flesh. Without choice, no politics, no ethics lives. I am not your cornfield, not your uranium mine, not your calf for fattening, not your cow for milking. You may not use me as your factory. Priests and legislators do not hold shares in my womb or my mind. This is my body. If I give it to you, I want it back. My life is a non-negotiable demand. Marge Piercy. Right to Life. Interesting that that poem was published in 1980. 1980. Yeah. Mary Pekka sent in some poems. Here's what Mary said. Here's a few short ones from Italian poet Patrizia Cavalli. She died last week. These are from her collected volume, My Poems Won't Change the World. Anyway. Cheers, Mary. Cheers, Mary. These are untitled. Very simple love that believes in words, since I cannot do what I want to do, can neither hug nor kiss you. My pleasure lies in my words, and when I can speak to you of love. So, sitting with a drink in front of me, the place filled with people, if your forehead quickly creases in the heat of the moment I speak too loudly, and you never say, "Don't be so loud," let them think whatever they want. I draw closer, melting with languor, and your eyes are so sweetly veiled, I don't reach for you, no. Not even the softest touch, but in your body I feel I am swimming. And the couch in the bar's lounge, when we get up, looks like an unmade bed. Yeah, that was translated by J.D. McClatchy. Here's a really short one. The more bored you are, the more attached you get. I'm so bored, I no longer want to die. I'll read that again. The more bored you are, the more attached you get. I'm so bored, I no longer want to die. Another short one. The sadness of creaking limbs, to be reminded again and again of the skeleton which the flesh, as long as it lasts, mercifully covers. The sadness of creaking limbs, to be reminded again and again of the skeleton which the flesh, as long as it lasts, mercifully covers. Thank you, Mary, for that. Patrizia Cavalli. Patrizia Cavalli. I looked her up. Yeah. In memoriam, Mary titled her email. I want to read a couple of John Gorski poems. John Gorski's a local guy. Theo from the Couth Buzzard. I don't know how it was communicated, but I got a Facebook message from John a couple of weeks ago asking about being on the poetry break. I told him that we haven't really done guests reading their work on the poetry break yet. Would it be okay with him if I read a couple of the poems that he sent? And he said that would be okay. So I wanted to read John Gorski's stuff tonight just because I haven't gotten to it yet. Like I said, things have been backing up in the old mailbag. And it's because mailbag management has been falling down on the job. Literally. Sleeping through the workday. Yes. This first one is called Monsieur Degas Going Blind. Degas was going blind in the Renoir sunlight, where women's voices burbled through air turning white. He sat with a boating party on a summer day, drinking the Parisian laughter like the wine of that cafe. His presence was a rarity. He scorned plain air and painters who worked in the dazzle filling his stare. He liked the quiet of his studio, where the women models would all come and go. After a bath, they would comb out their burnt sienna hair past bare sculptured shoulders glowing opaline there. Low lights of the stage were his preference, where ballets whirled in luminescence. But retinopathy was robbing the sight that he needed to focus in the wilds of Paris light. So he began to employ boxes of pastels to capture the ballerina's pink and blue carousels. He finally gave up, since low vision was shrouding figures he saw in a banal confusion. He wandered bitter streets hazy-eyed, in his last years muttering complaints far and wide. Monsieur Degas Going Blind by John Gorski. John has written, he's got I looked on Amazon, he's got books on Amazon, if you're interested in John's work. I really love this one. It's called Clown Penitentiary. Clown Penitentiary. In my third year in small town Missouri, I woke one morning to snatches of vaudeville birdsong. A few minutes later, I asked my father about it. He laughed and said it was a commercial on the radio station he was listening to for play-by-play of a St. Louis Cardinals game. That was the first time I felt like a fool. Then I was a first grader wearing glasses who the other kids called Four Eyes. I trudged off to school each morning in Maryland like a circus freak. A few years later, I was the 4'10" Little League pitcher with a lazy eye, who sometimes threw my fearsome fastballs on the wrong side of batters. In my teens, I was the tone-deaf wannabe folk singer who mangled simple ballads with the manual dexterity of a slug and only liked playing minor chords. My friends could only crack up. Then, funny cigarettes were passed around in Cincinnati, and the constellations winked and giggled across indigo nights. Next came a capsule and light strobing in my head 1,000 times whiter than a clown's grease paint. Later, I became a contortionist in Seattle to counter the side effects of my antidepressant, and found work as a file clerk who paced back and forth all day. There were still drolleries and fooling around, but the laughter all seemed focused on me, as if I wore a 3-foot top hat, a polka-dot jacket, and baggy pants. By that time, I was reading Kafka and Beckett and was finally aware of my sentence in the clown penitentiary. John Gorski. Thank you, John. I hope you will keep them coming. Okay, a couple of more here. Oh my goodness, where are we at? It's already 7:31, see? Now Diane, as I said, the hand retired. A month or so ago, her group, her pod, her work team had a retirement party for her on Zoom. And it was really nice. It was a great gathering of people that Diane had worked with all through her career at the university. I played a couple of songs. I actually was able to play a couple of songs. There was 30 minutes between them, so it was manageable. The second one was a little rough, but I managed. I did manage. And I also read a couple of poems, and I want to read what I read. The first one came from a very obscure book you may have seen laying around somewhere in your house. I'm sorry. It makes a nice coaster, though. I brought the one. I had one sitting on the table next to my chair downstairs, and I brought it up, and I noticed that it had coffee rings and stuff like that on it. Yeah. Anyway, I read this poem for Diane at her. Did I say graduation? I meant retirement. It's like a graduation. We discussed that on a previous program. This is called For Diane. It's towards the end of Pandemic Suite. Evening sun on maple flowers dangling over the parking lot. It's the end of a Monday, and the weight of a week's work hangs over like a temple of rust, tarnishing the dream time. Enough riches to retire, enough gems to line the walkway with stars. I am in love with the day, the labor, the hope, in love with a woman who steadies me even as she flies her own kites. There is a strength between us, propping the limbs that bear the fruit. Gratitude is my morning prayer, even among coffee dregs and the lunchbox tethered to a clock. I will swallow every seed we are given. Not my best work. And then the other poem that Diane wanted read at her retirement party is a poem that has been hanging right over there on the wall here ever since Diane and I got together. I think she first made me aware of it when I was still living in Twisp, in fact. And I read it at her retirement party. Chrissy Chesmore, Aaron Ochoa, hey you guys. Wow, John Gorski's in the house. Lori Trout's in the house. Lori, sorry I've been sick. Anyway, it's a poem by Hermann Hesse called Stages. Hermann Hesse. It's translated by Richard and Clara Winston. Stages. As every flower fades and as all youth departs, so life at every stage, so every virtue, so our grasp of truth blooms in its day and may not last forever. Since life may summon us at every age, be ready, heart, for parting, new endeavor. Be ready bravely and without remorse to find new light that old ties cannot give. In all beginnings dwells a magic force for guarding us and helping us to live. Serenely let us move to distant places and let no sentiments of home detain us. The cosmic spirit seeks not to restrain us, but lifts us stage by stage to wider spaces. If we accept a home of our own making, familiar habit makes for indolence. We must prepare for parting and leave-taking, or else remain the slaves of permanence. Even the hour of our death may send us speeding on to fresh and newer spaces, Excuse me. Even speeding on to fresh, even the hour of our death may send us speeding on to fresh and newer spaces, and life may summon us to newer races. So be it, heart. Bid farewell without end. I'm going to try that one again. See, I would have read like 2 poems last week and been here. News from the front. Stages by Hermann Hesse. As every flower fades and as all youth departs, so life at every stage, so every virtue, so our grasp of truth blooms in its day and may not last forever. Since life may summon us at every age, be ready, heart, for parting, new endeavor. Be ready bravely and without remorse to find new light that old ties cannot give. In all beginnings dwells a magic force for guarding us and helping us to live. Serenely let us move to distant places and let no sentiments of home detain us. The cosmic spirit seeks not to restrain us, but lifts us stage by stage to wider spaces. If we accept a home of our own making, familiar habit makes for indolence. We must prepare for parting and leave-taking, or else remain the slaves of permanence. Even the hour of our death may send us speeding on to fresh and newer spaces, and life may summon us to newer races. So be it, heart. Bid farewell without end. I just think that's a great poem. Yeah. So, at the last minute today, when I realized that I wanted more about retirement, Diane and I were both scrambling for a couple more, just a couple more. I found this one, and then I'll read the one that Diane found. This one is by Lucille Clifton. It's called Won't You Celebrate With Me? Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? I had no model. Born in Babylon, both non-white and a woman, what did I see to be except myself? I made it up, here on this bridge between starshine and clay, my one hand holding tight my other hand. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed. I'm going to read that one more time because it's short. Won't You Celebrate With Me? By Lucille Clifton. Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? I had no model. Born in Babylon, both non-white and woman, what did I see to be except myself? I made it up, here on this bridge between starshine and clay, my one hand holding tight my other hand. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed. Yeah. Now, where's the one Diane found? Here it is. This is called Warning by Jenny Joseph. It's called Warning. And there's a couple of lines in this poem that I think have been expropriated for other titles in other books. Warning by Jenny Joseph. When I am an old woman, I want to wear purple, with a red hat which doesn't go and doesn't suit me. And I shall spend my pension on brandy and summer gloves and satin sandals, and say we've no money for butter. I shall sit down on the pavement when I'm tired, and gobble up samples in shops, and press alarm bells, and run my stick along public railings, and make up for the sobriety of my youth. I shall go out in my slippers in the rain, and pick flowers in other people's gardens, and learn to spit. You can wear terrible shirts and grow more fat and eat 3 pounds of sausages at a go, or only bread and pickles for a week, and hoard pens and pencils in beer mats and things in boxes. But now we must have clothes that keep us dry, and pay our rent, and not swear in the street, and set a good example for the children. We must have friends to dinner and read the papers. But maybe I ought to practice a little now, so people who know me are not too shocked and surprised when suddenly I am old and start to wear purple. Excuse me. I'd like to read that one more time, too. Jenny Joseph wrote this, called Warning. When I am an old woman, I shall wear purple with a red hat which doesn't go and doesn't suit me. And I shall spend my pension on brandy and summer gloves and satin sandals and say we've no money for butter. I shall sit down on the pavement when I'm tired and gobble up samples in shops and press alarm bells and run my stick along the public railings and make up for the sobriety of my youth. I shall go out in my slippers in the rain and pick flowers in other people's gardens and learn to spit. You can wear terrible shirts and grow more fat and eat 3 pounds of sausages at a go, or only bread and pickle for a week, and hoard pens and pencils and beer mats and things in boxes. But now we must have clothes that keep us dry, and pay our rent and not swear in the street, and set a good example for the children. We must have friends to dinner and read the papers. But maybe I ought to practice a little now, so people who know me are not too shocked and surprised when suddenly I am old and start to wear purple. Diane found that one. Of course, that's the good one. That's the one that will all be. And what was the poet's name one more time? I just want to say one more time. Jenny Joseph is her name. Okay. All right. One more that Diane sent a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this. It's a Mary Oliver poem. It's called The Journey. The Journey. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble, and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voice behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life that you could save. I'll read that one again too. Maybe, has anyone ever thought that maybe Diane should pick all the poems for the poetry break? I mean, all the poems. I could hand her the Oldmanhood folder at the beginning of every week and say, pick 2 or 3 that you think aren't too horrible, and those are the ones I'll read. The Journey by Mary Oliver. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble, and you felt the old tug at your ankles. "Mend my life," each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voice behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. Yep. Mary, Mary, Mary Oliver. Because it's like that, you know? People think of retirement as a reduction. But maybe it's an expansion. Maybe it's an expansion into a part of life that we've never looked at before. There are elements to it that are like childhood, because suddenly you have this liberty, you know? But the protection that you've got, the safety that I was talking about, you know, is something that you've generated yourself over time, to where you can have the sense that you've earned the right, you know, and then just explore around in areas that you've never explored before, you know? Excuse me. I'm going to read one more because, you know, I said I was diving into The Kingfisher by Amy Clampett. I think what I need to do is I need to get more Amy Clampett, because it's just not hitting me in the way I want it to. I read the poems, I'm amazed at the craft, but I'm not sensing the heart of them. So maybe, this was her first book. Let me read this little blurb that's at the front of The Kingfisher. Since 1978, when Amy Clampett's poems began appearing in magazines and literary quarterlies, readers of poetry had taken notice of her originality, of her wry, keen, enraptured response to the world, of the intricate beauty and musicality of her poems, and of the classical nature of her principal themes. Now these poems are brought together in her first full-length collection. Her first full-length collection came out in 1983. Let me just see if this is still here. Yeah, it is. Now, she was born in 1920. So her first collection of poems came out when she was 63 years old, right? She passed away in 1994. Amy Clampett. And The Kingfisher was the first book that she published. Now, she started publishing her poetry in 1978, right? So she was born in 1920. She was 58 before she published a poem. I'm like, wow, there's hope for all of us geezers, you know? Anyway, so I've been going through and through The Kingfisher, just kind of scanning through and trying to find something that speaks to me. This book came out in 1983, which is the year I graduated from college. And I found one today, because it connects to something, at least for me, that happened in 1980. And that was the assassination of John Lennon. Yeah. I was live on the radio in my college radio station, KWRS, K-Worse, as I used to call it, when the news came down that John Lennon had been shot. Now, I don't know if this poem was written about that, but I wouldn't be surprised. These poems are not dated. but the book came out in 1983. So I'm imagining, and maybe it is just me imagining, that Amy Clampett wrote this poem called The Dakota. And it's a fairly short poem. So I'm just going to give you this, and then promise to dig deeper into Amy Clampett. The Dakota. Grief for a generation, all the lonely people gone, the riffraff out there now mainly pigeons, steps from its limousine and lights a taper inside the brownstone catacomb of the Dakota. Pick up the wedding rice, take out the face left over from the funeral nobody came to. Bring flowers, leave them woven with the lugubrious ironwork of the Dakota. Grief is original, but it repeats itself. There's nothing more original that it can do. I'll read it again. I'm sorry, my voice is giving out. The Dakota. Grief for a generation, all the lonely people gone, the riffraff out there now mainly pigeons, steps from its limousine and lights a taper inside the brownstone catacomb of the Dakota. Pick up the wedding rice, take out the face left over from the funeral nobody came to. Bring flowers, leave them woven with the lugubrious ironwork of the Dakota. Grief is original, but it repeats itself. There's nothing more original that it can do. Nothing more original that it can do. Now, all the lonely people, these are indications to me. That's just an amazing poem. And it does have music. It does sing. And I will continue to explore Amy Clampett so that we can... but if you like that one, this is the book. This was her first book, 1983, when she was 60... What? She was born in 1920, 63 years old. Yeah. I'm only 64. I'm only 55, 56. What is this, Uncle Billy, a holiday? Sorry. Anyway, that's it for tonight, folks. 7:53, look at that. Went almost an hour. Who we got here? Tim Robinson? Oh, my Lord, Tim. Thank you, sir. Gary Graves in the house. Yes. Who else? Who else? Let me scroll up just one time. Just scroll up. There's Rick Lewis. I wanted to see if Nadine made it. Yeah, there's Kevin Castle. Hey, Kevin. Send more poems. Oh, Chrissy Chessmore. That is so cool that you came, Chrissy. Heron. Yeah. Rochelle. Yeah. I'm glad you adore that poem. Whichever one it was. I'll figure it out later. Oh, thanks, you guys. Thanks for coming. Sorry I don't know. It's like when I read poetry, is it a different voice than I talk with? I don't know. Had that rough patch. It's like I get these hot flashes. I do. I get hot flashes. And I cough. My throat kind of seizes up. That's been happening for years. Oh, I wanted to show... Where's the other one? I wanted to show... Where the heck is that? Oh, there it is. I wanted to show this. Mary Pekka sent this to Diane. You open it up and it says, "The countdown is over. Happy retirement." It's a great card, don't you think? Anyway, so yes, happy retirement to the hand. And thanks everybody for sending stuff to the mailbag. It's still here. poetrybreak22@gmail.com, as long as you don't expect immediate results. Because the first couple of times I got emails from people like, "Oh my gosh, somebody actually wrote." And so I could read them the very next week. But I still got a poem from Jim Page that he sent me that I haven't read yet. it takes some practice because Jim is just masterful in his own wit and rhythmic cadence. I want to practice. I want to know it. I want to be able to nail it. And I think I need to be weller than I already am. Okay? So thanks everybody for hanging in there last week and for coming back this week. And sorry if the mailbag's a little overpacked right now, but I'm happy about that. That's a good thing. I think it should be something to be celebrated. Yeah. And don't forget, if you got a poem that you remember your folks reading to you when you were a little kid, or you remember hearing it when you were a little kid and being impacted by it, by whatever kind of way, it might have scared the crap out of you. Like the first time my dad read The Raven to me when I was a kid. I was like, ugh. My sister was there too. She remembers. That's scary stuff. But you know, kids, it used to be part of childhood to get scared. It's not a bad thing. I also want to thank Henry for his wishes for Diane for her retirement and for his prodigious output as an artist. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Henry has his own YouTube program now. I got a message from Charlotte saying, I wonder where he got the idea to do a live stream kind of thing. Anyway, Henry, you the man. You the man. In case there was any doubt. You the guy. Anyway, thanks you guys, and we will do this again next week. If the creek don't rise and the COVID don't come back, we will see you back here 167 hours from right now.